Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and wherever you are joining me. Thank you. Doo, 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 doo. Hey, Lexi, welcome. Have to put some lipstick on. Have to put the lipstick on. There you go. Get the hair out of my mouth. Ugh. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fabulous day. My name is Mary Jane Tracy, psychic medium, spiritual love of life coach, and an astrologer. So coming to you with the 411 of the cosmos and a whole bunch of other stuff. So couple things. Well, we'll get into the astrology in a moment. I've had, one person notify or give me some suggestions on different things to talk about. And then it's funny, it's like you get one person that does that, and then it's like I get a couple other people giving me suggestions too. So I think that's kind of cool. Like it's and they don't even know each other. One of the suggestions that people wanted me to talk or what wanted to talk about angels, mediumship, people who are dead, spirits, which is really cool. Another person asked me about because I talk about astrology all day or all day, not all day, but talk about astrology a little bit more. The other one was human design. That was the other thing. Um, all of them fabulous topics, fabulous topics. First of all, yes, I will bring in some, about the angels and the ghosts and stuff like that, and tapping into it and giving people a little bit of an understanding or more of a 411 of what my what my experience has been with dealing with um, spirit. And I also wanted to tap into a little bit of human design and the Akashic records. So over the course of the next week or so, we're going to be doing that and just sort of, yeah, just having a little discussion about it. We also have on April 20th, I'm going to be having a meditation in the evening. And if people would like to join me, it'll be by donation. So we're going to be having a meditation around, I, I was going to say 7 o'clock. That's usually when I've been having them. And they've been a pretty good time for people because, if they've been out, gone to dinner and stuff like that, they still have time to join. So we'll have a little meditation just to bring in some more of that positive energy I feel that we need and to boost what we are wanting to create and manifest. So that's going to be on April 20th and it's by donation. So, and I'll put up a link on either you can e-transfer me if you want to pay via my Square. I can just send you and you just tell me how much you want to donate and I'll just send you the link to do that. And what else am I going to be doing? Oh, I do want to start for the month of May. I do have a workbook. And if anybody would like to join me for the month of May, it's going to be $25. I'm trying to make it reasonably priced for people to join me. And we're going to go through, and it's an astrological month booklet for the month of May. You do get the booklet. And we are going to be talking about the astrology. So we're going to be meeting at least once a week. Monday has been the day that came to me on meeting Monday evening. And just to connect with not only the booklet, but also with beginning to understand your astrological chart. So I'm going to be putting information out on that on my Facebook page. And if you are not on my email list, please let me know. And because it's going to be in my email as well. So, and that's going to be starting at the last Monday of the month. So we're going to be doing that and then carry on. And then I have a June book and I have a July book. I have a booklet for the rest of the for each month for the rest of the year. So, but I figured we'll start with May and we'll do that. And the Beltane celebration will be separate. We'll do a little celebration for the Beltane. So, my loves, what to do, what to do. So, first, the moon is in Taurus. Now, going back to the Uranus Jupiter conjunction that's coming up on the 20th. And it's in Taurus. The thing is with Taurus, Taurus deals with our world, right? The things that we love to do. It's a Venus ruled sign, same with Libra. And this is a sign that really likes to look at, not only our values and the things that we do within our mundane world. So it has to do with our relationships, it has to do with our partnerships, it has to do with how we eat food, what we enjoy, the substance of things that we love to enjoy. It really has a correlation. Taurus has a correlation with carbohydrates and sweets. So with the moon being in here too and coming up with Jupiter in that, you might find that you are craving sweets, and you're craving a little bit more carbohydrates. You just have to find that point of why I'm eating avocado on toast, why you are, craving these certain foods that you are wanting at this time. And then the moon is going to move off to um Gemini. But this is, when you find that with this energy, and especially with this conjunction that's coming up. Now, the Jupiter Uranus conjunction is another big thing. It's like the eclipse, but you're not going to hear it all over the news and everything else. But it is a big thing. I mean, it is, the last time they met was it 19 years ago? And it was 2010. No, it was in 2010 to 2011. And it was from Pisces to, Pisces to Aquarius, and Aquarius. Yeah, Pisces and Aquarius. So it was going back and forth, retrograding back and forth. So that was the last time. So this is where you sort of take a midpoint and say, well, what was going on, 2010, 2011? For me, I was getting a lot of downloads. I was really doing these, I was actually recording and trying to upload this all to Facebook and stuff like that at that time as well. And then Facebook it was really weird because you had to have so many followers and all of this to have and upload it onto Facebook. And I find that was a time of very spiritual transition. It was a huge transition for me spiritually, and stepping into more of working with spirit, doing things with spirit, and so forth. So it was a huge time. It was a time, also craziness with the kids, but I think all the time I have craziness with the kids. So that just seemed to be ongoing, just an ongoing thing. And this Jupiter, things that you can kind of expect, because this is an expansion time, but thinking about what Taurus rules the lower jaw, your neck, your shoulder blades, and going up to the upper part of the heart. So things to do with your thyroid and into your thyroid. So things to do with your thyroid. So lower jaw could have lower jaw pain, tooth pain, neck, neck pain, things along that. This is where you might find, people might get thyroid problems, and with this conjunction might be sort of make like you're more in tune to it than usual. I had a sore neck and shoulders yesterday. It was weird. Yes. And then with the moon coming in there, it just sort of makes it, just because moon is more of a personal planet. Jupiter is it is one of our bigger planets. It's still within where we can see it. It's not on the other side of the astral belt, but just on the other side of the astral belt is Uranus, and you can't see Uranus without a telescope, right? So this is, this morning you would have been able to see, just as the moon was setting in the crescent moon, you would have been able to see Jupiter with the moon, which would have been very, very cool. And then if you had a telescope, you would have been able to see Uranus, because it's just on the other side. They're very close together. So this is like feelings of tension, the old and the new, feeling deeper to what we are needing. and the disruptions and expansions and the breakthroughs. So with the two coming together, and we're going to be starting to feel that kind of pressure as it's building. And of course the moon comes over and it sort of amplifies, and it's not going to come back, um, because over the two of them, because Jupiter will come back next, well, it'll come back next month. But Jupiter, before this conjunction, Jupiter will be moving on to Gemini at the end of May. Yeah. Okay. Getting my dates in my head. So we have this contraction that's happening. Even with throat issues, it might feel like you got kind of a lump in your throat kind of thing. So this is where coming into the pleasures, the beauty, the love, and the structures, and really coming into how you regulate your body and how you are feeling with regulating your body, and how you are actually with that pleasure points. What are those pleasure points within your body? And this has to do not only with love, but also pleasure points when it comes to doing things, enjoying life, right? Eating food, like those are all different forms of pleasure. What is it that brings you to the extreme of it? For some, if you what was I just seeing? Some guy, a new thrill, is that you hang from one of the tallest buildings in I don't know which building it was, but it was a very tall building, and that they swing you back and forth, and you lie like you're harnessed in, but they're swinging you back and forth, right, with this harness. And as you're doing this, and you're basically looking down, oh my god, I would puke everywhere, I think. But for some people, that's pleasure, that's the extreme. They have to have that extreme, to be able to feel that satisfaction, right? you know so what is that point? And that's where that, with Jupiter coming in with Uranus, brings in kind of a strangeness in what it is with your pleasure points. Now this is where you needing to look at some ways of, within that satisfaction, of looking at how to simplify it, how to really come into the grounding of it, how to come in, because sometimes the pleasure can be all up here in our head, and it's that feeling and the movement and the fire and going, right? But here we're coming in and it's in the earth, so we want to bring it, and we want to bring it down into the earth and bring it down into a grounding. And how can we come into the groundedness of our life, and bringing in the simplicity, which is a hard thing. So if you have extremes of doing things, like extremes, like I'm going to go way out, this is what I'm going to do. And now it's like wanting to show you how to harness it so that you can utilize it and have more longevity with it, and create a more of a passionate way of doing things, right? So with that Uranus and Jupiter expansion, it's bringing in that where we have to start to begin to get grounded. The other part with that, because what Taurus rules, it rules farming, plowing, you know it rules, how we are plowing the soil, how are we plowing the fields, how we are really working with that of what we are going. You're going to go get the knives, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, you have a good time, dear. How are the fields fertilized? How are you connecting again with that energy, right? So we're going to have with this Uranus and Jupiter conjunction, where you're going to see a lot to do with farmland. So farmland is going to be coming up a lot with this conjunction, and the utilization of the farmland and how you do it. The other part too, because of the Jupiter conjunction, has to do with manufacturing. So if you think about it, like all the different types of manufacturing that's coming out and the new types, and that includes the food, manufacturing of food. What are we trying to manufacture? Which is, meat, manufacturing meat and things along that line. So we're going to be seeing where more of that is coming in and trying to, because Uranus has to do with manufacturing, how is that creating a new way of life, a new way of being? So we're going to, and Jupiter's the expansion of that. So we're going to be starting to hear more of that, but it also comes in with our values and how we value. What do you value? Do you value that? Is that where you want to put the grounding of your energy into? So this is a time of really looking at how we are wanting to expand ourselves in a positive way in order to bring forth the changes, because changes are already in place. We're already seeing them, but the changes cannot, and this is where Uranus comes in, the revolutionary, the uniqueness, the newness, standing up. The revolution does not have to be in fighting like guns and blowing people up, but the revolution is bringing in a change of new ways of commitment, new ways of how you are committing with the land, with the people, with your community. And that's where the revolution is. The revolution isn't in trying to strong arm somebody to make them do something because that's what you believe they should do and everybody else should do it. But it is a revolution that wants to come in to bring us to our higher selves. What does that look like and what does that feel like for us, right? And bringing that in to Mother Earth. So being, and the thing is, this conjunction it starts at about 7:30 in the morning, Alberta time, and it is for 1 hour. It's not like the moon just sort of passes by, because moon is like moves very quickly as it's 2.5 days in a sign. This is like an hour. So they have this hour as Jupiter is going over and passing by Uranus. So we have this energy that's wanting to pull in. And then Uranus, what he does is he stews on that energy of the expansion, and we're not going to fully see or really start to really feel this type of more until he gets into Gemini, where you're going to find more information is going to come out, because Geminis can't shut up, and it's going to be expanding the speech, expanding the information. More is going to come out, and it's just going to be rapid fire as he's in there for 1 year. So we're going to feel this newness, this revolution, this energy coming forth. And part of my meditation that I am wanting to do with everyone is to bring that down and allow ourselves to bring in our revolution. What is it that we are wanting to come in and create? And anytime you are wanting to make a change or you're wanting to stand up for something, that's a revolution. You are revolting against what you did. You're revolting, you're making the change, but people don't want to, because that's, it sounds like too much of a harsh word. And but it's that's what we're doing. We're becoming pioneers, and becoming that pioneer is that you are wanting to create something new. So you are no longer wanting that of the past. You're wanting something different. You're moving into a new direction. So it is a very, and especially today's like a very powerful lineup, and it's getting us to really go with the flow, go with what it is that we know and what we are wanting to create, what we've already started to create, and piggyback onto that, and learning how to advocate in a better way. I see all the protests across Canada and I'm watching them. They're going to do diddly shit. I hate to say that to people, but they are. The thing is, if you want change, yeah, okay, protest, put it out there. But if you actually want the change, if you want the change, you have to start at the grassroots. You have to get in on the grassroots and what that grassroots is in your community. That's where the revolting is. That's where the revolution is. That's getting into, into the earth, into the place where you live, where you are, is those grassroots. And it is imperative that in doing that, that is going to bring in a huge revolutionary change, a huge change that is going to allow us to live in a more harmonious, beautiful way and find where those points are. Because sometimes the point of when it comes to the things that we do, and I know Cynthia's like she's eating avocado on toast, which is really yummy. And this is where you find is like, okay, I can have a piece of toast with avocado, but am I going to have 10 pieces of toast with avocado? Right? So where's that, because it could be like, well, that didn't fill me enough. That didn't fill me enough. That didn't fill me enough. And same with, so that's where we have to come into that grounding again to say, okay, no, I'm satisfied. I'm good. Right. I mean, it might be good to be going exhilarating and going on these exhilarating sort of rides or jumping off a cliff and do, crazy jumps and stuff like that, or hand gliding. That might be something that is like, whoa, because you want that thrill. Those are great. But then you have to come into to what we can begin to do on a day-to-day basis and start to align ourselves more with those frequencies that create a higher vibration for us all. Because that's really where we're heading. That's really where we are going towards. We are going towards a place that is wanting to bring us into a better vibrational, energetic frequency so that we are able to create so much more, right? And creating that what we want to have within our world. And that's so important. So, hello to everybody who just joined me. I see Cynthia's gone now over to Instagram and Charlene's there. Hello, hello, and welcome. And Lexi over here. And whoever else is joining me that I can't see, thank you for coming in and being a part of the community. So, it's that synchronicity that's coming in as well. So we have the synchronicity, I'm being able to say that, the synchronicity that is coming in that, it might seem chaotic, it might seem crazy, but it's through the chaos and the craziness that we are creating something new. And that's what we're doing. So these points that are happening right now, and I mean, Uranus and Jupiter have not met at this point in Taurus for 84 years. So it's been a while. And the innovative things that started to come in at that time was radar. Radar was being discovered and utilized. They were working on the atomic bomb as well during that time. We had new ways of doing our food. So processing our food. So new ways of processing our food. They never did that before. They never really looked at how are we going to get all of these food, how are we going to feed our troops, basically. England was going through problems with how to feed their people because they, it's funny when government gets into the farming community and wanting to change things within the farming and how the farmers do it and thinking it's all better and regulated, they basically mess it up. And that's what happened in England. So a lot of things were getting messed up. And so they had to make the changes. That's where you had victory gardens and things like that. And also the introduction of pesticides into your garden was during World War II. And how everybody had a garden, but they had the garden done in a certain way, where if they listened to a lot of farmers, there was a better way of doing it and they could have grown just as much, but they wouldn't have been utilizing the pesticides that they wanted to use. And so the vegetables and everything can grow faster. So that was happening during that time. There was also a change in the money and how money was dealt. Now, before World War II, the British pound was the world currency, and that's what people used. After and during World War II, it was the American currency that became the number one currency in the world and that everybody utilized. So we see that, okay, with that Jupiter Uranus connection, that there are changes that are going to come. Some are going to be, where we are seeing lab grown meat. Okay, we're all grossed out by that, but you're going to see a generation that isn't. My mother was grossed out by a lot of the processed foods that were coming in, but after a while, I wasn't, right? Until later on in life, and then I'm just like, "Okay, this stuff is kinda gross," but growing up as a young person, never thought it was bad, didn't think about it. So that's the process. That's what we have to really sort of take a step back and really look at. Oh, okay. What else was coming in? Well, radar was coming in. The World Wide Web was already there during World War II and really brought into the forefront in the 50s when NASA started doing space and all that kind of stuff. And that's how the Army actually started to talk with one another, and that was through the World Wide Web. But it was brought in and brought into the public domain in 1997 with Bill Gates and Microsoft, conjoined with the CIA. But nah, I don't have any, maybe not. That's conspiracy theory. But, anyways, getting off topic. So, we have all of these changes that are coming in and coming forward. And it is how we are going to embrace them, implement them into our world. And if there's things there that you are seeing and you're grounding that you are not coming into alignment, because we've learned so much, hopefully, in the last 84 years, that of what is good, and maybe pesticides aren't so good on the soil, that it kills the soil. What can we utilize and make different? Now, I know a lot of people are going into hydroponics and stuff like that. The thing is, the soil gives nutrients, right? The soil gives nutrients. If Okay, for instance, if you grow coffee by hydroponics, right? So you grow coffee by it takes 5 years to grow 1 pound of coffee. Now, coffee, this beautiful flower, and as it's growing and as it's absorbing all of the stuff, the nutrients and everything from the soil, but it is also absorbing a lot of the nutrients and essence that it grows around. Now, if you have that where it's growing around a lot of blackberries and a lot of fruit and different types of fruit, the berry of that coffee, as it's growing and as it's coming to its full maturity at 5 years, it has brought forth a lot of nutrients. Now that berry is going to taste different. That coffee is going to taste different than one that is grown in a different area. It needs those nutrients. It needs that essence, right? And that's all part of the vibration that's coming through. On looking at what are those essence, what are those vibrations, what is that connection that you are needing to create in order to have that full body, beautiful, whatever it is, cup of coffee, you can say, you know? So it's interesting when you start to look at the planetary alignments and how they are aligning and how you can see the changes that are coming through and being set in our world. And that's why I say, yes, people protest and you've seen people where they take over the government and run the government over, and then there's more chaos afterwards. It's just utter chaos. But when we come in and if you can infiltrate from the ground up, start making the changes from the ground up, you see it, and it's amazing. You see it with different charity groups, right? You see it with charity groups. When charity groups go into Africa. Now, when they go into Africa, they like to go into an area, they like to get to know the people, and usually they have somebody who is like them to talk to them, right? You're not going to have, you know, um, a white person come in and start telling them what to do, because they're probably going to take offense. But if they have somebody who they have brought in and they've trained and everything to go out, then they can go in and make whatever changes they want, or have that control in that area. Why do you think the Big O could get into South Africa so easily and open her schools? Anyways, that's just a whole nother topic, but I just thought I'd bring that in. If she was a, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed bombshell that came in and did that, whoa, 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 that wouldn't have gone over too well. Just an FYI. But anyways, that's where we're at with the with the energies that are coming in. So one of the persons, and I know she's here, Cynthia, asking me about first of all, I don't listen to a lot of psychics or mediums that are out there. I don't really pay them much mind. There might be a couple that I'll listen to. Like there's a lovely hillbilly witch that I love to listen to him, because his grandma, he learned from her and she learned from her mother, and so forth. So they're generational witches. And just listening to what he, comes up with and says, and he does readings and stuff like that. I just think he's cool. And when he says something and I hear him, it's just like, okay, you're not talking shit. I like you. Others that I've seen that are out there and talking, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, people, how do you get 10,000 followers? Like, because you're just talking like babble, like, yeah. Anyways, I just find it so interesting. But anyways, I just want people to know that I'm not out there watching other people on what they do. And I've learned a lot, not only through my grandmother, but through other teachers that I've really trusted. And I am not a huge reader. I don't read a whole lot of different books and stuff like that on the topic. And so a lot of my information has come through experience, and my teachers that I've had and the things that they've told me to read, then I read them. And through, my experiences and downloads that I've received, and trusting in that intuition that I get. Now, I've taught mediumship classes in the past. I find it hard to teach mediumship. One reason I find it hard is, one, it just came naturally to me. And sometimes I can't explain to people why I see and why I feel what I feel and see. It's very difficult to explain, because sometimes there is no words to explain to you what it is that I'm feeling and seeing. It's just hard to explain it. There's some people out there that are very good teachers and they can explain it and they can go through it. When I hear them talk, I'm just like, yeah, that's good. I like how you're saying that. For me, I find it can be difficult in explaining that. One of the things when people are wanting to get in contact or wanting to connect with the mediumship side, and I've seen people take, oh my God, spend thousands of dollars on courses thinking that this person has the magic sauce for them to become a medium. Or people have paid, you got to do a level 1 mediumship and a level 2 mediumship. And no, I don't want to discredit anybody, but I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I honestly do. I do. I believe in teaching people practicality in dealing with spirit and with dealing with understanding your intuition. Practicality, I think, is the basis. I don't think there's a level 1, 2, and 3, but if that's what helps people, and then I see them go off to other teachers and wanting to think that, well, they must have the special sauce, or they must have the special sauce. Nobody has the special sauce. Just an FYI, you are the special sauce. So when it comes to, especially when it comes to learning things with spirit and learning things when you're dealing with your intuition, it's a practice. And that's what people don't want. They just want the special sauce, right? That's all they want. They would just want to drink the special sauce and then they know it. If you are wanting to do astrology, yeah, you got to learn it. That's a there's a practicality with it. There's a science to it, right? So you have to understand how the planets rotate, understanding what the energetic frequencies are of those planets and how they collaborate with one another, right? So that's a learning process, and that is, to me, is like learning how to read and write. So learning how to read and write is a practicality. You need to know that it's something that you learn through repetition and stuff. When you're dealing with your intuition and working with your intuition, it is a practice, because it's called upon a trust, a part of us that it can be only learned, and I fully 100% believe this. It can only be learned through meditation and prayer, and through the connection of meditation and prayer, because you have to receive the information. The way to receive the information is that you have to quiet yourself. And in quieting yourself, you begin to hear yourself. You begin to hear the messages that are coming in. A lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to sit there. They don't want to receive it. It's where, when I see a lot of these little ones that are on TikTok doing the stuff, I'm feeling like, okay, you're either you just took a class on the weekend and now you feel like you are the prime psychic of the world, or whatever it is, or you are going by, oh, well, I just received the information, so it just is, so I must be right. One of the main things, and this comes with the practicality, is not only through prayer and meditation. When you do the prayer and meditation, that means you are connecting to a higher source. That means that you believe that there is something greater than you are. When you believe that there is something greater than you are, that brings in a humbling, that brings in a respect. But if you don't have that, then, and just going by the sheet of your pants, like I have people give me readings and I'm just like, okay, that's nice. Basically it. It's like, no, if I'm going to give you a reading, I want to give you a fucking reading. I want to give you something. And I find that a lot of people, when they give, like, I've gone to readings, I'm just like, yeah, that's nice, but you haven't given me anything. Do you know what I mean? And same with, I don't like to really tell too many people, like, yes, I do mediumship, because it's like, if they come through, they come through. Because most of the time, when you're dead, once you die, they're off doing their own shit. Just saying. They're doing their own shit. They're not really, unless you ask for them to come in, then they'll come in and they'll say, they'll see my little antenna and they'll come in. But a lot of times, the people who have passed away are quite content where they are, the majority of them. And not everybody who has died goes to a nice place, because not everybody is nice. Not everybody's a good heart. Not everybody's soul was put together in a good way. Some people's souls come in and they're fractured, and that's what they had to learn, is how to bring forth their soul parts again. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people go into, not to the place where everybody else is. Not everybody's with their relatives, because a lot of people don't like their fucking relatives. And if they're an asshole in life, how do you think they are in death? They're probably just as much an asshole in death when they come through. And a lot of people don't want that. They want, all of a sudden your dead relative has become an angel. No, no, no. And that's, again, they were around when I needed them in life, and it hasn't changed in death. Exactly, Lexi. And I think that's what people have to understand. And a lot of those who've had their loved ones, it's a hard thing. It's hard when somebody passes away, somebody that you love and cherished, whether that is your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, or God forbid, a child. There is something that, yeah, it is a difficult one, and especially in how they died. You know, um, it's horrific when you are dealing with a murder or you're dealing with a suicide. Those are horrible connections, because people don't want to know. Sometimes they want to know how they died, but they don't necessarily want to go through everything that person went through when they died. And a lot of times it is quite, it's not nice, it's horrific. And or if somebody who's died from a battling cancer and they died in a lot of pain, then they die in a lot of fear. So that's the other part too. So there's, when dealing with spirit, and you want to connect with your spirit, you want to connect with those that you love, bring a picture, take a picture, sit quietly and begin a conversation with the picture, and start to talk to them. Start to tell them your day. Visit their grave, but don't sit on the grave. Please don't sit on the ground. But bring them flowers, or bring them, you see this uh in many traditions, that they bring something that person liked. So if I go and see my mother, I'm going to bring a chocolate ginger, because my mother loved chocolate ginger. And I'm going to bring my dad a finger cookie, and a cup of tea. I bring, and that's the whole thing. You could bring a flask of tea and bring, and have the tea and stuff, and then sit there and have a visit with them. That's connecting with them, right? Pour a little rum on the grave. Yeah, if they liked the rum, it's all depending who, because it's spirits, right? It's bringing the spirits. Um, you could do that as well. But it's having that connection. So if there's somebody there that's dear to you, that you want to connect with, and find, a message. People are always wanting a message from those who are on the other side. 99.9% when I get a message, they're all good. They're all doing fine. Um, they can't they can't interfere in your life. You've already lived your life. You're living your life. They lived theirs, so they can't interfere. They're doing their thing. Same with angels. Angels are beings that, there's only two angels that have walked to the earth. All right, Melchizedek and Archangel Sandalphon. Now, those are the two angels that have walked the earth and then ascended up. Now, we as humans, when we die, people think that, that we become angels or guardian angels. No, we don't. And that's through what I have witnessed through my own meditations and what I've been shown. People can come back as guides, but you also have to understand that they come in as guides, and some of the guides will have egos, right? They will have those slight egos because they've lived this earth. Angels have no egos. They are divine energetic beings. Now, these divine energetic beings can have wings or no wings. You know, we've always put them with wings. That's the generality because of how they appear. But sometimes they'll appear and they may not have wings as they appear. So there's those types of beings, and then we have higher beings from the angels, right? So there's many different um dimensional different beings that come in. Now, when we're working with that, and we're working with the energies, we always work with that of love and light. And every energetic being that you are wanting to work with will, that is on the light side, on the bright side, is not going to tell you to do things that are not appropriate. They're not going to tell you to do things are um, that are going to cause pain or havoc in your life. That's not what they do. They they want to bring forth positivity in your life and joy. And the more you start working, for say, with your angels, the more you start working with those who've passed away, then definitely you're going to start feeling more of it. I get things for me, like when Steve's brother died, it was really weird. I was just sitting out here watching TV, and I was just sitting there watching TV, and had a sip of wine. I'll admit that I did have a sip of wine, but it wasn't like I drank the whole bottle or anything. I was just sitting there and I'm just like watching show, and then all of a sudden I felt Rupert. I felt him, and I'm just like, holy shit. And then all of Steve's family came in. Now I met Rupert. I've never met Steve's mother. I met Steve's father. And some of the others that have passed away, I've never met. I didn't know who they were, but they knew me. And that's the whole thing. It's like those who've passed away who are on the other side, they can still see you. They still know who you are. They know their grandchildren. They know their great grandchildren. You know, they know their lineage, right? There's that lineage that's there. So when they came in and they had a message, and they came to me, which is, I thought, funny, because they had to give Steve the message for him to understand everything that was going on, right? Questions for someday: how will people doing made end up, and will they have to come back for the same lesson? It's similar to how will people doing made end up? Made. I don't know what made is. Made up. Made end up. Made question. And will they come back for the same lessons? Many do. Yes. Come back for the same lessons, but and those who've done, okay, I know I think I know where you're going. So, got the message, gave Steve the message. It was great. I was crying like a blubbering little idiot, and just because there's just so much emotion that came through, that had to come through with that, and it was just utterly crazy. That happens. Um, but knowing that they're coming through with love and light. Now we're seeing many not so nice people coming through. And the thing is, you have people, and Justin has always been my little example of things, the Justin Bieber effect, I called it. You're expecting, here's, at the time he was, when he was 18 or even 17 or even, 16, you're expecting a 16-year-old to understand all of his medically assistant dying. Okay, thank you, Cynthia. um there's the thing is that he came in with a gift to be shared. And having when you're coming in with a beautiful gift, Michael Jackson is the same way, had a beautiful gift to be shared. But when it becomes when the guidance is there, the angels are there, the but when the guidance gets manipulated by those who are doing the earth walk, and that's part of the choices that we are given upon the earth, because those who have fallen to the earth have control of the earth. And even though they may have control of the earth, we have been given the ability to make choices, right? And when people that are and I have to say is that children have a energetic bond to whoever their mother is, adopted or biological, till the ages of between 18 and 24. Yeah. And that connection is with them until that time. After that time, from 25 on, that connection, even though they, sometimes you see some really weird connections with mother and son, even though there might be a connection, that it's just it's not, that comes into more of a psychological issue than what a spiritual, energetic comes in. Now, when you see people like that, I mean, they were supposed to be given guidance by their mother or father that came in, or grandfather, that grandmother, to give them guidance. And even though they come in with a soul contract, even though you come in with a soul contract, there's still choices. There's still energy that can come in to say, okay, just because you come into to this, we can make it a different way. We can do it a different way. But things get infiltrated. People make those choices, and then hopefully they make the proper choice as they come over the age of 25. Then maybe they become awakened, they become more aware, they come into their Saturn return, come into that awakening. We're seeing that with Justin. We're seeing awakening coming in with him. He's had his Saturn return, or coming into a Saturn. I think he's coming into, or just finishing a Saturn return. So he's coming into this awakening of saying, no, I don't want this ever to happen to anybody else. I don't want this to be, I don't want anybody to go through what I go through. And trying to be a positive mentor in a world that is filled with demons, kind of thing. Those who continue it on and sort of go through the manipulation. Now there's a whole and I didn't want to get that heavy into there's a whole other area that is very demonic and very evil, and that it's just crazy. It's crazy. And that when you're going into, so I'm going to bring that back over to the medically assistant dying. So the medically assistant dying, there is there's a fine line to that fine line. There's a fine line to when you are saying, give it to me, I don't want to live this life anymore. And the fine line is where they know that they know that's utterly and explicitly the end, right? So they think this is a fine line. So they think, because the one part to that fine line, it's so you think. So you think. But it's not for us to judge that part, especially if someone who is dying, say, of cancer, or Lou Gehrig disease, or things along that line. Like, we don't, the pain and suffering that they go through, and what that, that's where there's this tiny fine line. Now, to go into the other parts of what's happening with this in Canada, is bringing in where that's evil. That's evil. Those people have been manipulated in a way that is getting them to believe a certain way in order for some sort of control, some sort of manipulation. That's where they have fallen into that manipulation, and some will come back, some won't. Some will come back and some won't. There is a part, where, as we are reincarnated and come back, is to learn what we didn't learn in the last life. When it comes to, depending on where they were at, and into the understanding, sometimes they go through what I call a counseling, or go through some form of really understanding more of things, because they are a fractured soul, and coming in as a fractured soul. and having that fractured soul. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Is like I that's where that fine line comes in. And it's not for me to judge it, but I'm just trying to explain it, that this fine line. So if they're having a rough go, they're having cancer. The thing is, the fine line comes in when spirit, source, higher beings come in and saying, how do you know I won't have it for you tomorrow? How do you know what you are doing or what you are going through is not giving a blessing to many other people? That's the same way with abortion. How do you know that child isn't the child that's going to give the gift of life to thousands of people? You don't know. That's the whole thing with the human journey. You don't know. You're making that decision or that assumption. And it's a fine line. Now, neither you or I have gone through that in order to make that decision. So that becomes very difficult. When I go into things like abortion, the moment of conception is the moment when the soul comes in. The moment when that child, when those cells start to break and those cells start to go, that is the moment when the soul comes in. And when that soul comes in, there is a time, it's a very small window, when that soul talks to its mother and says, I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to come into this life. And if you're not ready to have me, it's okay. When it comes to a point after that time, and that's within the first few weeks, okay, that's when it is. When it comes in after that time, and this is what I see, and I don't judge any woman who's gone through and had, um, an abortion, but there's a time when it comes in where it becomes evil. If you are 6 months and you decide to get rid of that child is viable. That child is alive. That soul is there. Now, that what you have done, not only to yourself, but to that child, will live with you forevermore. There will be a weird, fucked up bond that you have to work out in the next lifetimes, and even through this lifetime, because you can't tell me you're not going to have any psychological problems after you decide, because I have been there as a doula in stillbirths, and it is like fucking atrocious. Just saying. That's one of the reasons I stopped being a doula, because there was a lot of stillbirths starting to come in. And that's the thing. It's like there's that finite. Yeah, see, I get what you're saying, Char, but then there is a point there where others are saying whatever it is that they're saying, especially to the young person, about like where is okay, here's I'll get religious with you. Where's God? Where's God in all of this? Where's the divine? Where's the higher spirit? Where is source? Because it's not for us to understand the whole journey. And that's the whole part of it. And that's the same thing with mediumship. People want to understand the whole story. That's why they want the special sauce, so they know, right? And some of them, like you got the young guy in Hollywood who's really, he's good. He's damn fucking good. But he doesn't get all his stuff from the light. I can tell you that. He doesn't get all of it from light. He does get it, from it feels like from an alternate source. When we're dealing with the light and we're dealing with that energy, that's where there are going to be unanswered questions. There's going to be where we will not know everything, and that's okay. And that's where faith has to come in. That's where the love has to come in. the Hollywood guy. Yeah. He's good. I've seen him. I've watched him. Same with the one from New York, uh, Long Island Medium. I mean, Sylvia, I can't remember her name. Anyways, crossed the line too, but then she came back. But Long Island Medium crossed the line. Sylvia Brown crossed the line. She was the one who was crossing the line. Doreen crossed it, but then went all the way back and reverted back to, because it was just too much for her to handle. There's especially when you're talking about people who have passed away, it's it's a difficult one. So, understanding that we don't have the answers. For those who do, those satanic, now going into the baddie stuff that they do, and the different I think I can say the word rituals, the different rituals that they do, or the different ceremonies that they perform. I mean, if we're going into things, how Diddy did it, that's sadistic. He had a very sadistic way of doing it, and how you see many of, and then the different contracts that many of the stars had made through that, where they will find that they've had to put forth a child in some way. Those who do that are going to a different place and then having to learn to come back in a different format, either by having to understand what punishment or what they performed on that person. Like you are seeing right now, here's another crazy. You're seeing now how many stars are coming out with their children that are like under the age of 16, that are, we've heard that they're bi. Cher's eldest one, her daughter Charity was Charity's not Charity anymore. That's another one. And you see, like, okay, why? Like you start to wonder, like, okay, why? Okay, hers was sort of, you thought it was an anomaly. Then you start seeing a lot of other stars that are coming out now that their children are non-binary, they're trans, they're this, they're that, right? Within the whole gender spectrum. And you start to say, okay, what did they do? Because those children are becoming the sacrifice. And that's the other part too. So that's because you got to understand who the fallen angels came here to give us freedom and give us all of this, right? And I have their name down, and then bred with women and stuff, and brought forth more, right? But we also have been, we're brought here to give the choices and have those choices, right? Chaz, that's his name. Cynthia's right with me. She's getting my brain, finishing my sentences. But that's the thing is that, and that's part of what we discover, that we are discovering now. Every era kind of discovers it. We had where in the at the turn of the century, there were a lot of mediums and psychics that were starting to come out, because a lot of new energies, a lot of that energy was starting to come out. It was sort of that newness, or of wanting to understand the other realms and everything else like that. I'm here talking out loud to the screen. Lexi's screaming at me, what? Hang on, I can't get there and type it out. And you had an era where, especially in the 1800s, about 1859 or so, a lot of different psychics in that were starting to come out, and people were like, ooh, what's this? And exploring different things. And a lot of dear, there's always been weird manipulation upon people and things like that. Coming out and people doing crazy shit. They've been doing it for thousands of years. There's been many different spells to make people sleep for 3 days and rise again. There's been many different things that people have done, right, throughout the ages, and have passed down, and with aliens and the whole bit. But see, that's the whole thing. It's like when you get into mediumship, that's why it's so important to come back down to your practice. I'm wanting to make this simple, to come down to your practice, to come down to have that meditation and that prayer, so that you can stay within that light and work with that. Because as you just saw, there's many different fields that are out there, and I've looked at them, and I've entered into a few of them. And the thing is, I don't do drugs. I'm not a person who's very good with drugs. And to be able to work with them, I can actually go into an altered state without the use of drugs or alcohol and connect. Sometimes I don't want to do it, because as I get older, it really exhausts you more so. And I'm not willing to take certain things in order to continue it on, which some mediums do. And that's the other piece that people don't understand, that how many mediums that are out there, that once they cross a certain line, and working with that of the dead, to understand what they're consuming in order to be able to even see even deeper. And they've given it to kings in a very homeopathic way. That's where you get into really crazy rituals, crazy ceremonies, for those to be able to see. That's where you get into blood ceremonies, and so that you can see more clearly to the other side. And that's where it's like, where do you draw the line? And for me, that's where I draw the line. I draw the line with that kind of shit. I just don't want to go into that. Um, knowing my sign and knowing me, it could be very easy to go into that side. It wouldn't even wouldn't even bat an eye. Acid, LSD, all of that. All of that. A lot of psychics and those take a hit of LSD, acid, shrooms. Yeah, not to do readings. Shrooms are totally different psychedelic. Same. LSD. They used to give LSD used to be legal until the 70s, until the 80s or so. So was cocaine. Cocaine was legal too for some time. LSD in Harvard and Princeton, they used to have tea parties, I used to call them. And the tea parties were what they would have, but they sort of kind of like microdose and that. Acid gets you into a, a crazier vibration. It's a little bit crazier of seeing that. And a lot will take the acid to get to the to cut barriers of the brain, to go to different parts. That's what DMT does, goes through different barriers of the brain in order for them to receive the information that they feel more clearly. And to receive what it is more clearly. Like when you um enter into some of those altered states, I mean, you start to really feel things vibrate, like the trees. You really can feel the trees and the colors, and even taste the colors, and have the the effects of how those colors are really feeling upon your skin, kind of thing. So when they do that, it allows for them to get into those altered states. Ayahuasca does the same thing. Peyote does the same thing. Now, those are all ceremonial uses that a shaman would use, not to go out and utilize it every single day, but they would utilize it within ceremony to go connect. If they're doing soul retrievals, if they're doing anything along that line, in order to help the person to reconnect and coming into a holistic way. Now, that's a whole different genre of energy that can be utilized. Although it is being manipulated at this time by governmental forces in order to control a population and in order to make people more like zombies and not pay attention. That's one of the reasons why they, we have drug, and the reason why we have alcohol is it's like they know what'll happen if they don't allow people to have the alcohol, right? Although they would love to restrict it, but they also know that in restricting it causes, and especially when you're going to war. When you're going to war, you want the people to be able to go into altered states because of what they are going to see and what they are going to witness in those places. That's where the Germans use amphetamines for their soldiers, and they could march for days and days and days on end. So, I mean, the drug part is a huge part, but what I'm talking about is when you crush a skull and there is a drug within that skull of a 25-year-old. That's why children are still connected with you between the ages of 18 and 24, because after 24, they don't exude that energy that would bring forth the renewal of life. Because they've gone through the different changes that the body is going through to go to the next one. Steve's doing his bottles. So it's, I love it because, when you're talking about mediumship with me, it's not like, and I see these beautiful angelic people come on, and they're so beautiful and they're angelic and they're loving, and they talk about the angels and the connection of their loved ones. I end up bringing you and started going from beautiful angels and angelic stuff to craziness to like blood sacrifices and why certain blood sacrifices are used to right now. This is where you find like people, you hear the reason. Think about why they want abortions after 6 months. It's disgusting, but just think about it. And that and what they utilize that for, right? And that's so important. That's so important to understand that. Now, those souls that are doing that, there are, it's some of the crazy things to think about. All of those eggs and sperms that are being frozen right now, how many souls are being frozen that aren't able to come into this world? Or being frozen and aren't even supposed to be here anyways, right? They would have been, that's the other part that I see. So it's a crazy topic. It's a crazy topic, and it's a topic that I can continue on tomorrow with you all and bringing in more of, if you go through, think about some questions that you would like to ask me. I thought we would talk about human design, but the human design can come in. But if you have, other questions that need to be answered, I mean, I'm coming to you from a place of spirit, and I'm coming to you from a place of my experience. I am not coming from a scientific knowingness position. Okay. And then I need to let people know that because of hate speech and all that kind of fucking bullshit. but it's coming from my experience, my understanding, things that I have seen and things that I understand, right? And working with, um, and stuff. So not not everything is of love and light. And that's the other part, that I see. And I know everybody's thinking that we're going to go to a world of utopia and that there will be no money and we're going to barter and everything else. And, you know, that's a beautiful, beautiful world. That is a beautiful utopia to aspire to. But we are in a three-dimensional world and we live in a three-dimensional world. And to aspire to those other dimensions, we can be there, but we can't be there all the time because we have come to learn to live and work in this three-dimensional world to create and to show others that, you know what, not everybody's a baddie, not everybody's an asshole, right? So what is the plant that we have today? Ooh, agu, ague. Agu grass, bitter grass, blackroot, crow corn, star grass, star root, the unicorn root. It is for protection. Sprinkle around your home to keep evil at bay or carry in a satchel for the same purpose. Also used as a hex breaking and uncrossing rituals and mixtures. It's that one. So that is our plant of the day. And it's the unicorn root. That's how I know it as, is the unicorn root. And yeah, it is. If you can get unicorn root, it's a good one to have on hand. Good one to have in your apothecary, unicorn root. I haven't had it for a while. So it's probably something I need to look into and get. So let's pull a card. Change it totally on a totally different subject. But yeah, tomorrow I will continue on, bring you the 411 of the crazy, of the shenanigans of as above, so below. And if you want to continue on discussing that, of mediumship and some of the cray of it's an interesting topic. It is. And you can go into many different angles of it. And I can bring more of the angels in as well. So I'm bringing forth them. Intuition. In comes the goddess of intuition, the priestess, the high priestess. There's wisdom and knowledge all around. We just have to learn how to grab hold of it and acquire it. There's more. Like, she will give you, she will give you the information. She will help you and guide you, but you got to trust your own as well. So trusting in that guidance as the information comes forth. So information is all around us. It's how we are wanting to acquire it, how we are wanting to engage it, and work with it, right? So that has a lot to do with it as well. And trusting in that intuition that we receive is very important. Sometimes it comes in and we have to sit with it, and that's fine too. It's not, there's this intuition, but there's also the intuition that comes in that I have to take a moment and go within and really feel what I need to feel. So there you go. Have a blessed one, everybody, and may the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you and all that you say and all you be and all you do. Thank you for joining me. Let me know tomorrow about any questions that you would like to ask, and we'll go in a little bit further.